What's up, guys? Welcome back to the JP and Trav show. It's your host with the most, JP, and to the right of me, I have the homie Trav Davidson. Travis, how you feeling, man?
I'm well. You're the host with not with the most light. That's
I
for
know
sure.
my
Man,
uh
I
my
rarely see you.
my regular camera just bugged out. I mean, you saw me before. It was like I had
All good. All
flash
good, man.
face.
Man, we can hear you. We know what you look like.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Hopefully it sticks. Um,
There he is. What's up, everybody?
what's up, guys? How you doing? Yeah, JP after dark is right. um, I'm trying to show off the new light that's behind me. If you can see it, the homie Richard. I don't know if he's listening, but he got it for me a couple weeks ago as a gift. Appreciate him. Now I wanted to use it tonight, but it is bright. Ready, three, two, one. Cover your eyes. Bang. It is. Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, man, do I really want to look like I got the moon behind me tonight? I don't know. But here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have the OU beanies on. We just vibe like that. We didn't talk about it, but we don't
Yeah.
need to.
It's natural, man. At this point, we're
You
like,
know what it is.
we know what's up.
Yes, and we are obviously back at for now 9 p.m. Central Time. Now, I don't know if Brandon Parker are sticking to that time or not. We'll see. But
Yeah,
it's
I don't know why they did that,
I don't know either. It was interesting, but hey,
but
it's
man,
nice. It's nice to be back.
their comment section stresses me out, man. I last night I tried to watch, but goodness gracious. It's like there are a couple people in there that just the most negative people in the world, and they got me all sidetracked. They want me to get, I'm trying to start arguing with them. I'm like, no, 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 no.
Are
I'll
they
watch
shit?
this later.
Is
So I watched it. I
it
watched it
seriously?
today with the comments off. It was, man, it was rough. But yeah, they got a lot of people that just like to troll in the comments.
Jeez, man. Jeez, I
But
didn't realize it was that
they just
bad.
needed it. They just needed a night off without conflicting with us.
Hey,
Is what it is. But
it is what it is. That's for sure.
yeah, Cam knows what I'm talking about. Cam knows what I'm talking about exactly. Those two, oh man, they were going at it. It's almost like there are certain fans that wear their standards and their negativity as a badge of honor.
Yeah,
They're like, oh, I'm not happy unless we get 15 5 stars. But in the same breath, they'll be like, I don't want 5 stars because I don't want prima donnas. I want 3 stars. There's just this. They're just never happy. It's so weird.
yeah,
So weird.
yeah. It is interesting and definitely something we're going to hit on a couple of different fronts today. Before we get really started, guys, go ahead and make sure you hit that like button again. Hitting that like button gets us in the YouTube algorithm so people can see us because obviously people do watch the show. Most of the time Thursday morning on the way to work. Sometimes I watch Thursday afternoon and kind of into the weekend. So please like that up so people can see it on YouTube. Thank you for those of you who are in the chat right now that are joining us. Hey, make sure that you share this. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Again, we do this every Wednesday night. We love having you guys here. Let's try to get as many people in here as we can. We often do engage with the chat in many different ways. Obviously, we typically have a Q&A session, but lately we've been going the classic way of kind of letting the chat drive some of our conversations. And so we'll do that a little bit as well tonight. But please make sure you share it. Make sure to get people in here, tell them how awesome you think the show is. If you do enjoy us, we know there's a lot of you that do enjoy being with us. So just go ahead and tell other people about us. So we can get them in here and have a great time. Jake, shut your mouth, bro. Shut up. Okay, listen. Look, I cheer for Sam as a Colts fan. Never in orange. I'll cheer for him while he's in blue. Okay, if he brings us wins. Okay, but I don't get it twisted. Okay, you know what it is over here still to this day. And it's your fault he in there anyway. He was talking in the off season about how he was going to end up being a starter, and look where we're at. Look where we're at. So I also said that
Well,
Marcus Major is going to be RB1,
that's
which is false. So
that's one first position on the depth chart that Jacob got right this year.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the show. As you guys know, whenever the Sooners go on the road, so does Travis. So we do a segment when we kind of break down the game that we call Traveling with Travis. We ask Travis, how his trip went. We ask him, what bar did you go to or whatever else, what good food did you eat? Obviously, he does a radio show up there, and just his thoughts on the game, seeing it live. We're going to break down Iowa State game really quick. Now, the next time we do traveling with Travis, it will be traveling with Travis and JP because JP will be in Morgantown. So
Yeah.
we
As,
will be
as
in.
long as radio sends me, I'm not sure right now. We'll see.
Yeah, I hope they do. They better. If not, I'm gonna send a strongly worded letter. Can I be like the one game I make it to? He don't go. That's what we doing.
Hey man, and I've spent about a decade being my own boss. I can't make all the decisions anymore.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, man, go ahead and tell us how Angel was, dog.
Dude, first and foremost, I can't talk about Ames without thanking Justin Kelso. He was awesome, great host. I was able to stay at the house, meet the family, meet the dogs, meet the cat, man, everybody. And I'll tell you what, Douglas Miles, he's a cat guy. He's a cat guy for sure. But anyways, Justin Kelso was fantastic. Drove me 2 Jethros to the game. We hung out. Anyways, big shout out to that guy. Also, Ames, it was a blast. I mean, it was a really good time. It reminded me a lot of Nebraska, how well they cater to their fan base, right? Like different fan bases take on different styles and everything like that. Like the Midwest is very family friendly. Um, Iowa State was very family friendly. You walk out, and for those of you that are on my Instagram, saw the video that went from the pedestrian bridge out over the sea of color changing trees and you know ketchup and mustard flavored or colored tents all over the place. And they have a really cool tailgating area. And then at the stadium, they have these two on each side of the north end zone. In the corners, they've got these 2 grassy hills. And it looked like people were about to watch 4th of July fireworks. People were laying down blankets and quilts, and they were, everything short of a picnic basket, one might say. And it was great. Kids were playing football and just hanging out. It looked more like a cookout, and the game was happening right there in the foreground. So it was really cool. Obviously, it was great to get a big win. Um, it's do you remember when it was southern Missouri, maybe Missouri State? I forget. It was the first game of 2020. Spencer Rattler's, full season as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Threw 4 touchdowns this game. We went like 31-0 in the fourth quarter. Remember
Yeah.
how long ago that was?
Mm-hmm.
That was the same day that Iowa State lost their last game by 2 touchdowns or more. They've had 12 losses since then. None of them have been 2 touchdowns or more. That's insane to me. This
Yeah.
team doesn't get blown out, and they don't lose by 2 touchdowns or more. And that's exactly what Oklahoma did. They left a lot of points on the table, with Marvin uncharacteristically having his worst game as a Sooner. Left those on the ground. Obviously, Eric Gray with the fumble early that they were obviously able to recover from. But defense played well. And when we say defense played well, I don't mean that this is a top 5 defense. You can compliment the defense with admitting that they are not elite.
Yep.
They played well. They've improved. And 3 interceptions, hard to argue with. 66 yards rushing. If you get 3 turnovers and only give up 66 yards rushing, you're going to win that game 11 times out of 10. But yeah, the press box was nice. Not quite as nice as like Nebraska's. Nebraska's was incredible. Probably probably the best one yet. TCU's was pretty good, but Nebraska's was elite.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it was a good time. Perfect weather. Jethro's Barbecue was the spot we were kicking it. I wish we had one in Oklahoma. Incredible food. They've been on, let's see, Men's Journal named the manliest bar in the Midwest. Discovery did the United States of Bacon at their place. They've been on Man vs. Food. They've been featured in all kinds of stuff. Really, really good stuff. Doug likes their boneless wings, and I'm obviously not a boneless wings guy. They're chicken nuggets, basically. These were interesting. I've never seen any boneless wings like this. It's almost like they took like like shredded chicken almost, and then battered it. I mean, it looked like calamari almost, but it was really really good, really tender, and yeah. After the game, it was cool. Mama Riri Helms shows up. Nate Down shows up. Uh, Senor OU, Mr. OU, the whole gang showed up. It was really really cool. So yeah,
Well,
enjoyed the time in Ames. Enjoyed starting a win streak as well, or continuing a win streak, I should say.
that's a fact. That's a fact. We got our second win in a row, winning 27-13 over Iowa State. Now, my score prediction wasn't too far off. They have been obviously the whole season, but I believe I said that we were going to win something like 31-28. I think that's what I said. Believe we were going to just somehow scrape by. And I didn't give our defense much credit because obviously they haven't given me anything to be super excited about per se. But you know what? They showed up, and as we talked about last week, Gabe said, "Hey, Iowa State can't run the ball. Don't let this be the game where they start to run it." And we didn't. We shut them down pretty well, and then they do have a decent passing offense in terms of yards. At least I think they're fourth in passing yards per game, or were before we played them. They had a lot of passing yards just because he threw the times, but he also threw three interceptions, lots of turnovers. Justin Broyles, for as much as he's maligned, I mean, that's as good of an interception as I've seen in a couple years. I mean, those are the type of plays that we haven't seen made. That's the diving one that slips through the hands, or whatever else. And there are other ones where it's right there and it slips through the hands. Right? You think about Deshaun White earlier this year, should have had a pick six, but Justin Burrows dives to make that play. It's not that the ball was right there. He dove to get it, and it was a clean pick. Woody's was, I'm surprised he got away with that one. I thought that was incomplete, but it's okay. And then we have Danny who you know um, gives up a fourth and arguably we have to look at the tape. Some people think it was him. Some people think it was whoever that middle safety was. I think it was Billy Bowman that gave up that 4th and 12 by the goal line, which is unacceptable, right? But to be able to bounce back to kind of have the same type of concept, fill the route, and pick it off, and almost house it is incredible, and it shows growth. And so obviously Baylor, we'll get to that here in a second, but they're going to provide some tests. But the defense showed up. Marvin was lost a little bit, but I don't think that that's normal. I think he'll bounce back. But man, I thought the offense still did pretty good, all things considered. I mean, Iowa State's a five defense in the nation, right? I mean, they're number one in the Big 12, like they're top five in the nation, legit.
Yeah,
And
and they
we
and
we
they've been that way
probably
a long time. They've been playing good defense in Ames for a really long time.
we probably should have scored 40, Trav, right? I mean, if you think about it, like you think about the Marvin Mims
Yeah.
catch
See,
that should have been a
see,
touchdown. You think about Theo Weiss, I mean,
see. That's what.
fumbles.
Yeah, we picked. Excuse me. We picked our spots. That's what you have to do against that. There's. That's what Iowa State does to you. They make you think that you should be up. They make you think that you should have more points. They make you think we need to start pressing. We've we've had success, but we don't have any points to show for it, much like the first half. It was, man, we feel like we've done fine on this, but we've only, only got, a few points to show for it.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting there and you're like, geez, what's going on? But that's what they do to everybody. It's that you have to remain patient against this defense. And I thought Levy called a gem. Opening play of the game, he calls a touchdown because if Mims catches that, I know it gets negated because of the hold. But the play call itself, he obviously didn't call a hold, and he didn't call Marvin to drop it. That kind of stuff, like Levy called an absolute gem. The different run looks that we gave them, you're not going to have a lot of success moving pre-snap a bunch against Iowa State because they run with the same personnel with everything. If you notice, we I think we put like 4 people in motion at one point, and nobody moved. Like it's just okay, cool. This is the exact same thing we were doing, and so you have to do it post snap. You have to give them different looks and concepts post snap, and man, it was it was good stuff. I mean, you walk away giving them their biggest loss in over 2 years. Yeah, it's definitely a good showing. But that being said, Baylor's defense is good. It's not as good. So think of all the points left on the field against Iowa State, and think to yourself, if we can get time of possession and get enough, possessions in general, we should be able to put up some points against Duran's defense.
Yeah. I know people had their Jeff Levy comments. Me and you had talked about ad nauseum, Trav on the phone all the time.
Yeah, he called the gym. He called the
Jeff
gym.
has earned his money, dog. Like, and when you look at the creativity that man displays, like he had Iowa State not in a blender because they're a great defense, but he had them thinking constantly, throwing different things at them, not only in the pass game, but in the run game. I mean, I was listening to Gabe talk about it because obviously he knows his run game very well as the former center, starting center for the Oklahoma Sooners. Man, he's talking about he's throwing split zone at them. He's throwing all these different things, these intricate, run schemes that, maybe to the average fan eye, you're just like, oh, it's another run, right? But he's keeping them honest. I love that he put Dylan under center and that little counter to Eric Gray, and he did it twice in a row because it worked. Like I,
Yeah.
I
And
want.
Dylan played well as well, especially keeping it on that option was a big time play off to the right side to pick up the first down. He was putting the ball on people's hands. Usually if Mims catches just a couple of them, then Dylan's numbers look dramatically different. But if you take the 6 games that we've had Dylan for the entire game, then we would rank as the 5th highest offense in just total offense. I believe it's 514 yards per game. So with Levy calling with Dylan, this is an elite offense, even though it may not feel like it.
Yeah, yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. Excited for how we're going to finish the season. I really am. All right, hey, let's move on to this week. We play Baylor University at 2 p.m. Unfortunately, on ESPN Plus. I don't like that too much, but you know what? It's all right. It's a 2 p.m. game.
Just go to the games and you don't have to worry about what TV channel it's on.
Man, I wish I could. I do. I wish I could, but yeah, I have it anyway. I'll be watching it. 2 p.m. Central Time kick. Baylor's coming to Norman. Obviously, Baylor was our first loss last year. We got throttled in Waco. It wasn't a fun time at all. So, looking forward to this game this year. They're not as good as they were last year, clearly, but Rand is still a very good coach. They're still coached very well on defense, and I think they're maybe a little bit more potent offensively than they were last year. I think their offense is a little better. So, we'll see.
Their running offense is impressive.
Yeah, that's for sure. So let's talk a little bit about keys to the game, and people in the chat, go ahead and throw some keys to the game in. We'll throw them up here as we kind of converse together. Trav, what are some keys to the game for you in order for OU to win this game and win 3 straight?
I think there is one key to the game, and it sounds crazy, but I think there's one key to the game. It's stop Richard Reese. If you can stop Richard Reese, you'll win this ball game. Richard Reese, he's 5'9". He's a little lightning bolt. He had 3 touchdowns and like 130 something yards last week against Texas Tech. The week before, I think he had like 186 and 2 touchdowns. He leads the Big 12 in rushing touchdowns. It's what Baylor has always done. It's they play good defense and they run the ball. Shapen has been struggling these last 2 weeks. He started off Big 12 play averaging 300 a game, I think 7 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. But just these last 2 games, he's had 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He's only averaging about a little bit less than 190 a game through the air on less completion percentage than he had in the first 3 games of the conference schedule. So he's not going to beat you through the air, especially the way he's playing right now. So it's going to have to be run game, stop the run, sell out, Guebu, Danny, come down and stuff the line of scrimmage.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. And a lot of people in the chat are talking about, the line of scrimmage, which I think obviously the line of scrimmage, you can say every game.
I don't think there's a game where you're like, you know what, we can get beat up front as long as our wide receivers play well. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be, line of scrimmage is going to pretty much determine most games. But their run game is a problem.
Yeah. And up until last week, we struggled with the run. And so this is, again, this is a major test for the Sooners to see, have we really gotten over that hump? Obviously, you're going to give up some big plays, but are we going to see runs like we did with I forget the kid's name now, DeMarcado, right, at TCU, like just running up the gut, literally 65 yards. Like, are we going to see that? Because obviously the young man from Baylor has that type of ability, and so
I think the difference is TCU has. I think the difference is TCU has NFL players on the perimeter at wide receiver.
Yeah,
Baylor don't.
Yeah, I know Baylor's wide receivers core is kind of weak, especially compared to what they've had in the past. So hopefully, we can actually get some pressure on the QB. I think we did a good job of that with 100 Deckers. We didn't necessarily get there all the time, but we certainly provided some pressure. And I would say its offensive line it wasn't terrible in the pass game. They weren't great in the run game, obviously, but they're not the worst offensive line necessarily that we have faced all year. And so I'm hoping that we can provide some pressure when Baylor does drop back. But we got to stop the run first, as you said. Offensively, I think we just got to play our game, man. Like I don't think Baylor's going to do anything that dictates what we do. They're not as strong as Iowa State, like you said. They're still good, fundamental, sound team. But man, I think that we have all the tools necessary to score, in bunches on them. We did it against K-State. That's a really good defense. Did it against Iowa State. That's a really good defense. We moved the ball well. I think, again, like we said before, it's a testament to Jeff Levy. Obviously the tempo, but also mixing speeds, also switching up formations, keeping the defense on its toes, and also Dylan Gabriel, just playing the quarterback position at a high level. Even though he didn't have 400 yards against Iowa State, he made good decisions constantly. Even when throwing the ball away, they were good decisions. He kept the ball out of harm's way. And so that's what you hope for. And I'm excited to see what happens on Saturday, personally, for me. With that being said, let's get to the score predictions. Trav, what's your score prediction, dog?
Oh, what did I say on air? I think I'm going 38-31 because I think they score last. I think they're 31. I think they kick a field goal late to get it to one score. So 28-38, but they kick a field goal late to get it 31-38. I think Marvin has a big game. I think he felt awful. He said he didn't respond emotionally the best way. He's never had a game like that in his career or in his life, he said, so high school or college. So I do think Marvin has a big day. I think Eric Gray has a big day because all he has are big days. The
Yeah.
guys went for 100 yards on the best rush defense in the Big 12. And now he ran for so many yards. They're not the best rush defense in the Big 12 anymore. It's Baylor. So I expect Eric Gray likely to go over the century mark again.
Yeah. Eric's been a beast all year, and I would suspect that we'll see a lot of. And I mean, they'll have to test that. I forgot what his name is right now. It escapes me, but their big dude in the middle is a hoss.
It's a difficult name, but um, they've got some freaks on the defense. I brought up Gabe Hall. Gabe Hall is their sack leader.
Hmm.
He's 6'6", 300 pounds. Yeah, Ika, he's like 350 in the middle.
Ika, yes.
Garmin Randolph is actually their second leading sacker, if you will. Um, Second leading sacker goes at 6'7", 250. He's a linebacker, a 6'7" linebacker. So, Shane, you don't know what you're talking about, brother. Get your sloppy Joe manwich ass out of here.
Facts. You gotta have beans. Yeah, that's crazy. 350 is nuts. I mean, Rain, Matara, Conjo, and Murray are gonna have their hands full, for sure. But again, Jeff's not gonna just sit there and try to run it up the middle all day. If that's not working, he'll get outside, make it work a little bit. And again, hopefully our tempo, right, will wear him down, and have to have him come off the field and or just not have him making as much of an impact. And so us getting first downs, I think, is going to be key to moving the ball down the field like we have been.
The last couple games, we've been really good with time of possession. We won time of possession for the first time against KU, and we were only I believe a 45-second deficit in the last game. So really controlling the time of possession has really been in our favor lately.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. I'm going to go ahead and say 34-27. That's going to be my prediction for
Okay.
OU. I could see it being 41-27. I could, if Dylan has a big day, but I'm gonna stick with 31, or excuse me, 34-27. And I'm gonna hope that our defense 21. Don't know if that's realistic or possible, but to show steps, that would be awesome to hold Baylor, who I think is near the top of the conference in offensive efficiency. Just in general, obviously with the running game, especially.
Running game is
If we
really
can
good.
shut that down, that'll show huge improvement because they're a really good running team, as you said.
I think they're third. I think they're third in total offense and third in scoring. It's one of the two. But I
Yeah,
mean, in the conference, I mean they can typically score, but again, it is heavy run these last 2 weeks. I mean, I believe the last two games, I think he had 36 carries.
yeesh.
The last game, yeah. And here's the thing: I am glad the weather's going to be good because if it was the monsoon that everybody thought it was going to be, our running back room's a little thin right now. Marcus Major has not been the same since his injury. And
Javante is not
then
back.
Javante is coming back from, I believe, a hammy. So Eric Gray is going to be the bell cow in this game. I like him to get 25 plus carries, which would obviously be his most of the season for sure. He had 20 against Iowa State for 101 yards. That's with missing like 15 minutes worth of real time in the 10th. So we will see.
Yeah, we will definitely see. I'm hoping it's a good win for us, and we'll move it on to West Virginia, which I'm excited again to go to. We'll get too much into that, and hopefully you get to go. That'll be fun.
If not, I got people. I got people up there that I have you meet up with.
Let me know.
I
Let me
got
know.
my good buddy Paul that I always stay with in Norman. Um, he's going to be up there with some friends. So
Okay.
he's a good dude. He's a real good dude.
Me and TJ are gonna come down early in the morning, so
Good.
hopefully again we're 6-3 heading into Morgantown. Guess we'll see this weekend right around 6 p.m. Central Time. We'll see what's going on. All right, hey, let's move on to our next conversation. This is a conversation we've had throughout the week, and I personally want to address it. I've addressed it on Twitter, but I'm going to address it here. Um, for whatever reason, okay, we have a contingent, and maybe there's some of you in here. I don't know of OU fans that are upset, that we haven't closed on every single defensive tackle in this cycle. We got Derek LeBlanc, obviously. We had Hicks. Okay, that's documented. And he flipped A&M in the last 15 minutes. All right. Or whatever you want to say, hour or 30 minutes. He flipped. Okay, at the last second, pretty much. And then we have Caden McDonald, who we were late getting in on. We were never necessarily in the lead for him. And he chose Ohio State, which is okay. I mean, Ohio State and Alabama have been producing those people for years, and Oklahoma really hasn't. Todd Bates just got here; he has to have time to get his relationships. But let's not say that he's the worst recruiter on the staff. That was probably the most asinine thing I saw this week. That he's the worst recruiter on the staff. A guy who won Recruiter of the Year just a few short years ago, a guy that recruited Brian Breezy and Miles Murphy and developed those guys that are going to both be first round draft picks this year. Okay. Like he literally was the main recruiter for both of those guys and developed them. Okay. Right. This is their third year. Okay. So what they are is because of Todd Bates. Let's be straight. It's documented that Christian Wilkins and I'm forgetting the other maybe it was a Dex. I don't know if it was Dexter Lawrence, one of the other big time defensive linemen that came out of Clemson. They took a jump when Todd Bates got there, as mentioned by Brent Venables. So let's stop acting like Todd Bates is a bad coach or can't recruit because he missed out on one guy and then the other guy who story's not in him. We'll get that later. I'll let Trash speak that more than anybody else. But um, decided to choose another school at the last second. But we need to take a step back, okay, and stop talking if you don't know nothing. That's all I gotta say about it. Trav, you got anything?
Well, it's just, I think people telling themselves when it comes to not understanding how recruiting works. There was somebody who listed a bunch of names, listing a bunch of names that we quote unquote missed out on, even though there were some kids that didn't even take visits. Like, you have to, and somebody brought up Xavier McLeod. Xavier McLeod came on campus, allegedly said, "Where the big booty hoes," and had one of the worst visits of all time. So, needless to say, Oklahoma did not go after him. But here's the thing: like, people don't understand recruiting, and then they think they can talk on it, right? Like, it's what I deal with sometimes when somebody like either watches the Food Network or something like that, and then comes and tells me how to cook, but they don't know how to cook, or something like that. It's like, guys, we talk this stuff every day. We talk to recruits, we talk to coaches, we talk to recruiting staff, we do all this, and all they do is log on to 247 and scroll and see who has an OU offer, and then complain that they don't get them. We prioritize David Hicks, which is what you should do. Like, for people thinking that we shouldn't have prioritized David Hicks is just, you're an idiot. So, yes, OU had Hicks in the boat, and OU has David Hicks taking an official visit for Bedlam. Like, he confirmed that. So, yeah, Vic Beasley came in as a 2-star tight end, Robert. That's a good point. But here's the thing. David Hicks is coming on an official. Our fan base is freaking out that Colton Bosick is taking an unofficial to a school that's in his own city. And Colton Bosick is not the highest ranked recruit on our board. David Hicks is the #1 defensive lineman. He's the crown jewel of that class. I know some people say Anthony Hill. It's David Hicks. So you've got your crown jewel of your class, #1 ranked defensive lineman in the country, taking an official 6 hours away from where he lives, driving 6 hours away, taking an official. And the idea that there's no difference between unofficial and officials, I'm sorry, but you have never been part of the recruiting process. You've never seen people on official visits, and you've never seen people on unofficial visits. You haven't talked to them about that. There's a reason you only get 5. And there's a reason they're completely different than unofficials. So that doesn't make any sense. So, anyways, I don't have. I'm a busy guy, right? I got big time stuff happening with Audience Rent. I got the restaurant. I don't have time for people who don't understand recruiting to hide behind anonymous accounts on Twitter and puff their chest out about recruiting. Like, stop it. Stop it. They'd be the first one to want to take a picture with Todd Bates, given the chance. Silly. Just silly.
The fact. I also want to address this. Look, he got there in 2018. So like they were sophomores. So I mean, you could say that they were trending that way, but he had 2 years to put in the work to build those relationships to get them to Clemson. So I don't buy stock into that, and I don't know the contingent of Clemson fans that said that they were happy that he left, because I know that a whole slew of them were not happy that he was leaving.
Well, here's the thing. We all know that Brent Venables knows defense, right? We all know that Brent Venables' defense requires, his 3-man front requires elite defensive line play, really more than anything on that defense. So you think a guy that knows more defense than nearly anybody walking planet Earth at the college game picked a guy who's no good to recruit and coach the most important position on said defense? You are outside your mind if you think that.
Yep. It's also not to mention, like Jacob was saying in chat. I mean, they elevated Todd Bates to I believe co-defensive coordinator before he left. So like they elevated him because they knew how important he was over there. Right? You don't elevate a guy just cause. And he decided to come with Brent Venables because he believed in what he was doing and wanted to be a
if you're tuned in watching this, you're more informed than anybody we're talking about. So we can move on. Nobody in here, watching this is dumb enough to think we need to fire Todd Bates.
It's a fact. That's a fact. All right. Hey, one last thing before we get into our this or that, a little bit of questions. I want to talk a little bit about recruiting. Obviously, we know that we had some offers go out the last couple of days to a couple of defensive tackles. You had, I believe, one go out to a JUCO guy. I don't know if he was a safety or a cornerback. I don't remember what his specific position was. But anyways, let's talk a little bit about the JUCO groups, and then speak a little bit to. I know you did already, but David Hicks obviously is locked in for Bedlam, and so do you think there's a decent chance there?
Yeah, Ashton Sanders is also locked in for Bedlam. He is the defensive tackle, true nose guard out of Los Angeles. Got a lot of West Coast offers, including Notre Dame, actually. So West Coast offers, and then he's got the Notre Dame offer to kind of legitimize his Midwestern look. But he's 6'3", 300 pounds, and we're looking for that beef up front. So Ashton Sanders, upon getting the offer, he scheduled his official immediately with the staff. Called the staff, said, "Hey, I want to schedule my official. When can I come down?" They said, "Let's get you here for Bedlam." So he will be coming down for Bedlam. Obviously, a lot of you guys saw the Marcus Strong offer. That is a guy that's gotten like 16 offers in the last month. He's one of those late risers. So, McCullough. I still don't know how to say that name. Dea McCullough. He's Cincinnati, 4-star Cincinnati commit, defensive back. Brandon Hall is really offering a bunch of safeties, not because he doesn't think he's getting Bowen, it's because Ryan Yates has since recommitted, even though he never decommitted. He he bolstered his commitment, if you will. So, anyways, he's offering a lot of safeties. One of those is McCullough out of the Cincinnati commit. So it's some of this late stuff. R. Mason Thomas, he was a late flip from Iowa State, and he's probably our best pure pass rusher.
Yeah. He was
that kind of stuff.
Right? He was a 3-star.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see what we do with David Hicks, because I am 100%. I am 60% leaning towards OU to get David Hicks. I'm 59% leaning towards getting Peyton Bowen and David Hicks. I personally do think we get both of them. I think that, again, girlfriends are undefeated. Jackson Arnold's still here. I think knowing that Peyton Bowen's mom is really involved in the recruitment, and Texas A&M has been a dumpster fire. They've had problems with lack of institutional control, and I know NIL does matter in that recruitment with Peyton Bowen. I know OU is working that out creatively. They're putting some stuff together for Peyton Bowen that they want to see. So with that, I mean, when it starts to get to those conversations, I think that we get both of the 5-star defenders. So it's a 59% chance in my mind that we get both. I never locked it in.
Somebody's gonna tweet, make it a quote.
Yeah, good God.
59% chance.
I've said it on radio too. I mean,
yeah,
I'm in the camp that I think we get both of those guys. So, and if we get both of those guys, I think Colton Bosick stays. I personally kind of think Colton Bosick stays anyway, but he's supposed to take an official this weekend. So Westlake had their game moved up due to inclement weather. So they're going to be playing on Thursday, so there's no excuse. Like, oh man, game ran late Friday, couldn't get up, to the 2:00 game. Like, if Colton Bosick is in Norman this weekend, he will have Jackson Arnold and PJ Adebawore both in his ear recruiting, because both of those guys are coming into town to help recruit. So it's so important to have those guys continue to travel to Norman to get comfortable there and continue to recruit the high-end targets. I can't even imagine how many people are going to be at Bedlam. I would be shocked if Jackson Arnold isn't at Bedlam. I would say if that's a night game, I think you'll see a lot of current commits come to Bedlam to try and close out the last home game of the year, and they all know David Hicks is going to be there. So, yes, PJ and Jackson are both going to be there.
Ooh, I hope it's a night game. Ooh, I hope it's a night game, because I'm coming. I'll be there. So I mean, I need that energy. Big time. Looks like we'll answer a couple recruiting questions before we get to this or that. Anything on David Stone?
I've talked with him a little bit about a week ago, probably. I still think, and most everybody thinks, he ends up a Sooner. I know you're seeing a lot of Michigan State stuff. I think that fades. I think a lot of it comes from his mom wanting him to be out of town, kind of spread his wings kind of situation. That's why he's at IMG and not playing here in Oklahoma. So I still think David Stone ends up a Sooner. I mean, that's where he wants to be. He wants to play at OU. I mean, I've been told from other coaches that it's like, yeah, he's like at other places, they're like, yeah, he's all OU. So he's part of a group, big time defensive line class. Williams Newell Mary, he's He's in the Kansas City area. He's going to probably be a 5-star. Zadavian Sims. He trains with the Durant crowd, C4 down there. He'll be a top 50 player, so he will kind of, I don't know, flirt with 5-star status. You got Nigel Smith, East Texas kind of thing. If Michael Hawkins Jr. commits, then that whole East Texas is going to lock it down. He's very well liked in that area.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think defensive line recruiting in 2024 is going to be very, very good. T.A. Cunningham, got some people talking about him in the chat. And, it's for anybody who's read the Athletic article on him, his family is very NIL minded, one might say. They moved all the way out to California because of it. And they've gotten themselves into a bit of drama because of it. You can go read the article on the Athletic if you need. But that being said, I'm not sure that OU will be at the top of his list or he'll be at the top of theirs. He's just a kid. He's a good kid. Got some bad advice early from a guy who thought that TA was his meal ticket. But if TA, I think TA specifically given his kind of guidance that he's got so far, I think he would do really well to come be under Venables. So I think that's the approach you got to take if you're OU and say, hey, look, we're going to develop you as a person. We're going to give you that guidance and leadership and turn you into a man and all this.
Yeah.
So let's see. Sorry, I'm kind of turned into into the question and answer section already.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's around recruiting, which is what we're talking about. So we might as well get him out of the way.
Yeah, I really like where we're at with Cecilia Khan. Still think we lead. Obviously, Texas A&M visit is cause for concern always because they like to draw bags. Like it is what it is. I still think we end up with him, and I do think that if we continue to finish strong, that he will look up at Jonah Laulu. He'll look at even Kaylani, dating back to Kaylani Ricketts, Jocelyn Allo, Dylan Gabriel. Like the Hawaii thing is a real deal. It's very much important to him and his family. So I think Cecilia kind of ends up sooner. What do I think of Ricks? Like Desmond Ricks? I would not concern yourself with Desmond Ricks going forward. Just forget all about it. I saw KJ. Let's see, KJ Bolden earlier. I got to watch him in Vegas during the OT7. Kid's a physical freak. Looks older than he is. He's an instant contributor to wherever he goes. He does have a good relationship with Valai. We'll see. I think he's a guy that I think OU gets a visit from. I'm not sure if we close him, but I think OU gets a visit from KJ Bolden if we continue to show improvement on the defense.
Okay. This is our last one, then we'll move on to this or that. Anything on Bowen? I know you said 59% we get both. How are you feeling about Bowen in general?
I feel better about Bowen than I do about Hicks. I think I'm not sure when we find out because I think it feels like remember when they were saying 2 weeks to stop the spread? That was like 3 years ago. That's what this Bowen flip announcement feels like.
Yeah.
It's like 2 weeks to the Bowen flip, and we're on week 16 of 2 weeks to stop the spread, or 2 weeks for Bowen to flip. So I think it happens eventually. I think he's a very thoughtful kid that doesn't want to damage his relationships with Notre Dame. I do. I heard that he was going to commit pre-Kale situation. Again, I said earlier that his mom, I think, is kind of, looking at different places, making sure that whatever
Mhm.
place is the exact right fit. And they were on board with Oklahoma. I believe they actually were going to announce. So he's been very close to a flip before. I do think it eventually happens. I think Peyton Bowen is a sooner come signing day.
Love that. It's gonna be a big time get for the Sooners, continuing to
Yeah.
add depth and quality depth.
Shout out Micah Tease, by the way. It's his birthday today.
Shout out Micah T. Did y'all go out?
No, we were going to go to lunch, but he decided to go get a COVID test instead. He wasn't feeling very good. With them having a game coming up, he wanted to make sure that he was in good shape.
Keep
So,
stay away from. Don't get you sick. Yeah,
yeah,
you
exactly.
you
Last
don't
thing I
need
need.
that as much as you grind.
Right.
Oh man! All right, guys, let's get to our patented game. This or that. Remember, this is the game where I ask a question. I have a prompt, three different ones, and you guys get to decide which one you would choose. You can say life or death situation, or somebody said you had to give up your OU fandom. Whatever you want to say, you got to choose one or the other. Make sure you put them in the chat too. I will put them up. Please make sure that you answer and engage with us. Here we go. All right, first one. Special teams week for OU at Iowa State. Austin Seibert or Michael Honeycutt. Which kicker are you going with? This might be too easy, but we're doing it anyway.
Um, I'm going. I'm going with Austin Seibert. Um, and I think part of it was just because I remember him being part of the Riley offenses, as unfortunate as that was, and just being clutch, and then enjoying his short time in the NFL with the Browns, with his number dispute and everything like that. Actually carved out a nice little, kind of personality character for him. That was kind of cool. So, yeah, going with Austin.
I'm gonna go with Austin as well. I think I'm pretty. I'm not shocked with how many people chose Honeycutt because Honeycutt was very good. I think he's a little, honestly, at this point right now, kind of underrated. I feel like he's a forgotten name. At one point, he was if I'm not mistaken, the leading point scorer in, if not OU history, and potentially even NCAA history. I think, if I'm remembering that correctly, he was money for Austin. He just was remarkably consistent, and could hit from long range too. That's not something Honeycutt did necessarily all the time. I think he only had two or three field goals of 50 plus yards in his career. But Austin also, punted a lot. Obviously, we have the best punter in the nation right now, but Austin was pretty good when he was here as well, doing both duties. So both of them really good. But yeah, I'm gonna go Austin Cyber. Just thought we'd give the special teams a little, something because we don't often talk about them, and they played a huge role in our win this past weekend. Obviously, Michael Turk is that dude. I mean, single-handedly, in some ways, really flipped the game in different spots. When a bad punt could have put us in a rough situation, and obviously we scored that fake field goal touchdown. That was a great call. All right, next one. Buddy Hield or Blake Griffin? Which Sooner legend are you taking? Buddy Hield or Blake Griffin?
I'm going with Blake. Obviously, gave that massive gift, to build that practice facility, training facility. But I'm going with Blake because when I was at OU, he was there, and he used to date, as the term we use, used to date a girl that lived in my uh, hotel or my dorms, right, in the Caslin dorms, and we would sit there and watch basketball together while he would wait for her to come. She was on like the second floor, so they had just the door right off the elevator banks. So he'd wait for her, and I'd always be downstairs watching basketball or something like that. So he came down, and I remember we watched Steph Curry for the first time on TV together. And that was the first time I ever saw Steph Curry. The first time he ever saw him, and we were sitting there watching the game together. So I got
Man,
to go with Blake for that memory alone. And that dude is a character. He is a comedian. Um,
hilarious.
he's he's wild, man. You'd always see him show up in the middle of the night at Crossroads to get the 24/7 in the student union with some big old oversized novelty sunglasses on, and then he would park wherever he wanted. He's a character, man. I got to go Blake.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Blake too. There are two Sooners who define for me kind of my Soonerhood. On the football side, it's Baker Mayfield, and on the basketball side, it's Blake Griffin. I have defended Blake Griffin like he was my flesh and blood through the 2010s. I did because when people would say, "Oh, all he can do is dunk," I'm like, "Have you not seen him play basketball? He's so much more than what you think." Sometimes I wish he was in his prime now because I think he would have been able to utilize his skill set even a little more. Now, obviously, he is shot more or has shot better, excuse me, later in his career because of injuries and whatnot. He's had to evolve that way. But man, if he could have done that in this wide open space of a game, I mean, he's even more wide open than it was when he was in his prime, and he was killing people then. But anyways, in college, he was just a dominating force, and Buddy was great his senior season. His junior season, he was okay. Blake was dominant from Jump Street
Right.
in college, and that's why he was a number one overall pick. And he similar to Baker Mayfield, and probably honestly did more for the Clippers than obviously than Baker did for the Browns. Blake turned the Clippers franchise into relevancy straight up. Straight up, he did. Chris Paul helped a little bit with that, but people came to see Blake. They came to see Lob City, and he was
He was the show in LA. You got to be the show. You got to match your city,
yeah.
and he was certainly a show. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, oh, he was. And now we love them both. Buddy's in Indianapolis right now. I saw Buddy play that night. I'm going to see him play on Wednesday. So I'm a Buddy stan as well. But Blake is my guy to the death for sure, for sure. All right, last one. You guys know we always do a food one. I'm excited about this one this week, especially for Trav, because I'm interested to hear what you got to say. Brisket or ribs? We're
I got,
talking good brisket. We're not talking about that burnt brisket that our former coach made
yeah,
on that fateful Easter Sunday last year.
I I got to go ribs. Got to go ribs. Um, my dad makes smoked and baked nearly every year for Christmas. We always have the Christmas Eve meal. Got cheesy potatoes, got the ribs going, real Southern style. But I'll tell you what, ribs, God, tough to beat. I like. I'm a big wing guy, so even the ribs of eating off the bone.
Mm,
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I'm 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 a ribs guy. You got to. But I'm like a baby back ribs guy. I'm not. I don't like the St. Louis style.
okay, that was gonna be my next question for you personally. Yeah, I'm a big ribs guy, and so was my dad. Made my dad was the type of dude that like we go other places and he try to plate people's ribs, and he'd be like, they're all right, because he had his own ribs that he made. And I mean, for me, they're the best ribs I've ever had in general. And so he passed
Right.
that. He passed that
Ribs kind
recipe.
of fall into like ribs, chili,
Yeah,
like some of the things where it's like, hey, Dad does it best. You know what I mean? Like it's just
Oh,
you get hooked on a certain way to do it, and then
yeah.
nothing like it.
Nah, and I've had some good ribs, but my dad passed the recipe down to me, and so I've done that. My wife loves them, her family loves them, and so I just know I do it. And I obviously, the charcoal grill is the way to go for me. Personally with ribs, is what I use the most. I'm wanting to take that next step up and get a smoker. Um,
Hey
you
man,
know,
you let me know. I'll recommend some good ones for you.
Oh, you already know I'm gonna talk to you when I get to that spot. But hey, a good brisket is good. I'm not gonna complain about a good
Not
brisket
about it.
either.
Our burgers at Trey's are 100% double ground brisket, so
Mm,
I'm partial to it. But I mean, given the options, come on now,
yeah, yeah.
I'm going
Now,
ribs.
try best. Let me ask this, and then we'll get out of here. And guys, you feel free to answer this question in the comments too. Obviously, let's not think homemade here because I'm gonna call my own answer too. What are the best ribs you've had, like at a restaurant?
Ooh, if you just picked what ribs I have had that weren't homemade, then I would go competition circuit on you because man, I tell you what, that will ruin you on some restaurant barbecue if you spend
Yeah.
any time around competitions. Oh, good God! But I would say restaurant would be Clark Crew in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
They are competition guys. They come from the competition circuit. They've uh, grand champion the Royal and a bunch of other like world championships of barbecue. They've won them. So they understand the competition circuit, everything like that. They've got the best restaurant specific ribs that I've ever had.
Mm. And that's in Oklahoma City, you said, right?
Yep,
I'm
Clark
looking,
Crew.
I'm looking it up right now. I may pop by there when I'm down there for Thanksgiving. We'll see. Um, for me, the best barbecue I've ever had, actually, it happened here in a restaurant. Keep in mind, I've never been in Kansas City before. It was my first time in Kansas City, and so we went to Jack Stack Barbecue,
That's good.
and I had some good old ribs there, better ribs than I've had anywhere else. And so that personally for me is the best place I had. Now I had some Indiana friends that came down for my dad's funeral a couple years ago. They came all the way down to Ardmore, and this is a funny story. They stopped at Rib Crib and got some ribs, and they're like, "Oh, these are the best ribs I've had my entire life." And I said, "I'm gonna slap the Midwest right out of you. I'm gonna slap
Come
the right out of
on.
you. You don't know what you're talking about, okay?" I was like, "That's the Indiana talking to you. You don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah,
Oh,
that's not good. I mean, they're serviceable, but like if you're like wanting like, all right, I need some good ribs, like
yeah.
ain't going there.
Who said Chili's? I know nobody said Chili's. Come on,
Bruh, what are
That's
you
even
doing,
worse.
man?
That's even worse. Oh my gosh. Oh well, guys, it's been fun as
Chili's
always.
baby back ribs,
Baby
barbecue
back ribs. I
sauce.
need my baby back ribs. Guys, it's been fun as always, man. Thanks for coming out, y'all. It was a blast, and we've had, obviously we have more of you than we've had in a little bit, just with Brandon and Parker doing their show before ours. But it was a blast, ton of engagement, and everything like that. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share for the rest of the week, and hopefully we get a win at Baylor, or excuse me, at Norman against Baylor this weekend. Trav, you got anything for the people?
No, not that I know of. If you guys are going to be in Norman this weekend, come hang out at the K-Ref. Pregame, we're going to be from noon to 1. We'll be out in the campus corner, the Capitol distributing lot right there, right out in front of like Hertz Donut and everything like that. Will be in there. Make sure and stop by, say hi, and then post game will be at Yo Pablo for right up when the game ends for 2 hours. So 2 hour show right when the game ends. So come by and hang out and boomer.
Yes, sir. Sooner, and we will see you guys next week, maybe at 9 p.m. Central Time. Maybe at 9:30. We'll see.
Who knows? I might have my Wi-Fi situation worked out by then. Who knows?
Hey,
T-Mobile said there were too many people on the tower for me to get their home 5G. So we'll see.
we we'll definitely see. I hope so. I hope so. I know you're sick of probably doing it on the phone, but we appreciate your commitment, sir.
Hey, oh, yeah, it's all good. You know I'm gonna be here.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. Boomer. We'll see you next week.